to Sacred Reveries, and I'm Jess DuBose.
And I'm Zarina Zertuche, and this week we're talking about
Listening to our bodies.
and all that entails.
Yeah, like what does that even mean?
So, ironically, I sat down to do this podcast and immediately thought like, "Oh, wait, I need to eat something. I'm just gonna bite a piece of something so we can keep going." Right?
Yep.
I was like, don't mind me. I'm just biting a random piece of bread and sitting down. Not the whole piece, just literally one bite was enough sustenance for the moment. And that wasn't like asking the body. It wasn't like I was starving, but it was like clearly I've been running all day and haven't really had anything substantial, living life on protein coffee and and nuts but he's like, no, we need a little bit. Like you can put us off, but you know, we need a little something to keep us going. And for me, that just feels like this like thought, like when a friend waves at you like, hey, from across the room. Like that's what it feels like to me. Like, oh, okay. And then that's it. But
Well, okay, let's talk about when you said asking your body.
mhm.
I know what you mean by that, but let's tell the
Oh, that's
listeners
true.
what you mean by that.
I literally mean I'm asking, right? I'm like, but I guess what I'm saying right now is that this time I didn't ask, right? But
Right.
normally, if I can't figure it out or I don't know or I'm trying to decide between what I should eat or not eat, I'll literally just like stop and like feel inward and be like, do I eat this one or do I eat this one? And sometimes I'll literally touch it or pick it up and I'll be like, do I want coffee? And just feel what my body feels like. Like, does it feel like tense? Does that feel good? Like when I add it? I mean, think about a person, right? So you meet a person and they stand next to you. And some people you feel good, like you feel better. Other people you're all listen, I'm tired and you're kind of sad. I think of it the same way. Like if I add this to my body, how's my body gonna feel? Is that what it wants to be, connected to, or is that the feeling that I want to have? Right. And so I'll ask. And sometimes it requires holding it. Sometimes I'll just think the thought, like it could be like, do I want sushi? No. Sometimes, you and I are sitting in a restaurant and I'm looking at a menu and I'm like, do I want this one? No. Do I want this one? Oh, no, no. Do I want this one? And it's like my whole being brightens up, and I'm like, oh, okay. I wouldn't have picked that with my mind, right? I would have been like, oh, that doesn't sound good. And it's always really good, especially when I don't think it's going to be in my head good. It's always like I eat it and I was like, oh, so glad I listened because that was awesome, right? And there's definitely been times when I don't listen and it's not been good.
I've witnessed that too.
Yeah. Yeah. How does that work? Does it work the same for you, Jess? Because I know you ask yourself about stuff like that.
I do. It works a little different. Um, if if we get into the weeds about human design, um, there's like uh Zarina is a generator, which means that the like yes and no guttural is going to be really helpful for her. That is not as well how I operate. I work the way that I tap in is like I'll ask literally like Zarina does. Thank you, Zarina, for teaching me to do that. I didn't even I think I subconsciously was doing that with different parts of myself, but it became way more tangible by witnessing Zarina like literally tap on a menu when we were sitting at a restaurant. Be like, oh, this one, this one, this one. I'm like, oh, I literally could do something like that. But for me, I get like a clear yes or no, like internally, or sometimes it's yes and no, sometimes it's just I can ask an open-ended question and then get the answer. Like, what do I want to eat? Ooh, Chinese food sounds really good. Great. I don't have
Mhm.
to go through the like options to get. Sometimes I do, it just depends. But um yeah, so for me it's like asking, and sometimes I have to just tell my body shit. Lately, the whole sleeping thing is I'll be like last night for instance, I was just awake at 3:30 in the morning. And I'm like, "No. We're supposed to be asleep right now. What is happening?" And I'm just like my brain is going even though I'm trying not to, and it's like I don't even know what I was thinking about. I've been reading The Hunger Games, so a lot of that is where my brain has been too. Um, but then I like was like, okay, body, it's time to sleep. We need to sleep. And then she like quieted down and I finally fell back to sleep.
Oh man, that's great.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it's like I don't want to infantile our body, but it's almost like a little kid where it's like you're gonna regret that tomorrow and you don't even know it, right? Like
Yep. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes too, it's like, okay, what are you trying to tell me? Like, why are we awake right
mm,
now?
totally.
And sometimes it's a body thing, sometimes it's a spiritual thing, sometimes it's an emotional thing. But like you have to kind of, I have to kind of go through them and figure out which one, if I'm lucid enough to even do that.
Yeah, that's the hard part too for something like that, for sure. I used to always wonder that when I would wake up at like, 4 in the morning randomly. Um, and especially if you can't get back to sleep. Because sometimes like I can just lay back down and with a couple minutes I'm fine. But like if I'm staring at the ceiling, no, there's usually a reason. Right? There's usually a reason.
Yeah, the reason last night was because my cats were fighting and they were being loud
Oh,
about it. So I was just awake.
that's a different thing.
Yes. Like, but they can figure it out. They don't need me to intervene.
Has there ever been a time when you've like, I guess, talked to your body and been really surprised by what the answer was?
Oh, probably. Oh, yes, often. I'm like not, I don't have any like examples right now, but one of the things, so one of my gifts is just knowing stuff, but there are lots of times where I um, don't believe it for one reason or another. So I've been practicing something called the sway test. Um, I learned it. Zarina has the body code book at her house, and when I visited her, I was reading it, and that's one of the things they talked about. Like when you're getting connected to your body, you can do a sway test, and there's lots of different like muscle testing type of things that people can do, but this one is literally you stand up and you ask yourself a yes or no question, and in general, people lean forward with a yes and lean backward with a no. You have to like calibrate it for yourself. So I usually calibrate every time I do it, and I'll be like, "My name is Jess," and my body goes, "Woo!" And then I'll be like, my name is Bob, and my whole body goes like this. I had to be careful about what name I use because there's other names that I resonate with. So I use Bob because I don't resonate with that one at all. Um,
There's
but
never a life where you were a Bob.
no, I don't think so. Um, but sometimes when I muscle test and like I'll have a very visceral reaction of forward, I'll be like, really? Like, yes. Like, okay. But I can't think of an example of that right now.
Mm, that's interesting. I often will like get a yes on something that my body needs and I don't even know it needs.
Mm,
So like maybe I'm not craving it, but like I'll go buy something and I won't even think to like want that or eat that. It usually happens with like bread or like pasta or
Oh.
something like that, something that's kind of carby and or sugary. And I really don't like, I like sweets, but I don't like things that are really sugary, you know? And so I'll get this like pull and I'll like ask and I'll get yes, right? And 10 times out of 10, it's because my sugar is diving fast and I just don't even know it.
Mm.
And it's like, hey, hold on a second. Like it's not differentiating between like the ideal thing to eat and the not ideal thing to eat. It just knows this will fix the problem right now, right? So now I know, right? But it took a while for me to realize what was happening. So
That's really cool. So when
mhm.
that happens now, are you able to figure out a solution that's healthier or better than just shoving sugar in you?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, and it all depends. Like this is kind of off topic, but like now I have the ongoing meter, so I can actually see how fast it's fallen and how much time. And so, like, if I know it's going to be on a trajectory that's really steep, then maybe I will like eat something that's going to immediately halt it or raise it. Um, but maybe it's not that much. Or if I know like I have time, right? It's like more shallow, then um, yeah, I can get to something and I'll be okay. I also have to be careful because sometimes like it drops faster after I eat, which is weird. But um,
And you're
but
tracking
I'm just
sugar because
yeah, because I'm a diabetic. But
there you
yeah, I just think it's fascinating that the body like has these beautiful alarm bells, right? That it's consistently trying to like interact with our consciousness, you know? And for me, like I get a tunnel vision doing things, which is why I was like, I'm not gonna stop and eat lunch. Like, give me a random piece of bread. So it's like for me, the body has to wave the red flag, like, hey, hold on, wait a minute, right? Whether it's like that or water or rest, right? Sometimes it's rest.
hmm And so in the spiritual world, it's really interesting because we often try to like bypass our bodies in the spiritual space. And but it's interesting because like our spirits chose our bodies, like chose to be in a body, and it's supposed to like help us with the experience that we're trying to have. And so trying to bypass it seems counterintuitive and kind of silly, I think. But also it's weird that's kind of how we're taught, even like depending on what religious sector or version of spirituality we're talking about. But in each of them, I feel like there's an element of bypassing the body, like don't do the things of the flesh, like sex is bad or something. Um, so what are your thoughts on that? I don't have an actual question.
I mean, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of places where, you know, the flesh, the world, however, whatever's incarnate, like the physical things that we see and experience, kind of get a bad rap. Like and I think part of it is because a lot of the desires are equated of the body are equated with things that are like, quote unquote considered wrong or sins or whatever. Um, and even though we were created with them innately, right? And so I feel like I feel like our job, in coming here was to use the tools to be here. Like we have talked about before, like you come to this earth to experience things, right? Otherwise you could have stayed like a bliss bunny as a soul and been fine, right? But we come here and we experience all the pain points and the struggle and the suffering um and I think the same is with the body. It's not that the body's supposed to struggle. It's more that we have come here to learn how to be the fullest versions of ourselves in a body, like to do all the things in a body, right? And so by separating yourself or making the body wrong, right? You're actually working against that process.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're never going to hear from your body um, when you're at odds with it, like when it's your enemy. And so um, it can never be the fullest helper or like insight to you if that's the case. So I was thinking about a friend of mine. She in dream interpretation and kind of like metaphors, she always says that when you dream about a car, it represents your body. I hope I'm getting that right, but I think it's a really good metaphor in this scenario too, because the car has like alarm bells. It has like you're low on gas, da da da, right? But the car can't drive itself either.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, we kind of have to give the body a framework while listening to it, to what it can stand, what it needs, how we can help it work within the guidelines like that we're giving it, right? So I don't think it's about like chastising or restricting, or it gets everything, like the wisdom is infinite, right? Like I think there is something to kind of this balanced working together that like they talk a lot about like chastising the body, but I think it's more like training it. Like it's a challenge. Like it's not bad to challenge yourself, to challenge your mind, to challenge your thoughts, your emotions, your being. Like that's part of how growth happens and evolution happens. And I think the same is true with the body. Like it's not wrong to do those things, but it's also not ideal to not listen to your body. So how do you get the best, of both worlds? And I think in my relationship with my body, and the more that it's taught me like that it is making good decisions, or it has a reason for the decisions that it's making, right? Or the things that it's asking for, that trust builds like it would with a person. And so you learn to understand like where where the desires, the compulsions and things are coming from, and then how to address those things in a positive way for, what you want out of your life, really.
Yeah. I can think of ways in which um things that we would normally maybe demonize um as something bad, as something that was really powerful for me, and then other ways where my body is subconsciously just taking over and I need to like be like, no, we don't need to eat all of the sugar. Like, and this is really cool. I love having these conversations because I'm thinking about it now in my relationship to my own body and thinking, okay, some of the ways that I unconsciously let my body do whatever it wants is often through food. And I'm like, was thinking, like, why has that happened? But I think that I stifled some of the other ways that my body wanted to express, whether it was movement or um, emoting, which is connected, that I just kind of stifled. And so instead of being allowing myself to move my body in ways that I want to be moving, because I was told to sit still or whatever, then my body's like, okay, fine, we're gonna eat instead. And I'm just realizing that in this moment. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting pattern and something that it's trying to break right now because my body is calling me to do more and more movement. And I've been resisting it because I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to do that. And I'm fighting my body, even though my body's trying to help me to get to a place where I feel better just by existing, by moving. And then the exact opposite of that, um, I often have joked about this. At some point, I'm going to do it though, is I want to create a video on why smoking weed saved my life.
Oh my God, give us a preview because that's so good.
Because I was so restrictive in my life. I didn't have sex before I was married. I never got drunk until I was my late 20s. I was 29. I didn't have weed for the first time until I was in my 30s. But that moment that I actually chose to smoke weed was um a pivotal moment in my whole life. One, it's like this. choosing to do something that I was told I wasn't allowed to do or was wrong or bad or whatever. And so I get to experience um, the body in a different state in a way that was actually safe and healthy and beautiful because I did it with a wonderful friend of mine. Um, but also like this going against what, everything I was taught, like in the church, like these things are sins and this is illegal and I shouldn't do that and da 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 da. But then all of a sudden, after that moment, I had like this very epic high experience. I remembered shit from when I was a baby. I had some interesting conversations prior to smoking weed and then during while I was talking to my friend because I think I just talked at my friend for hours while I was high as shit. The next day, I actually had to call off of work because I was still high. It was a whole thing. I didn't know what I didn't know because I'd never been high
For
before.
sure. Yeah, for
And I was
sure.
supposed to go lifeguard. Like, I can't be in charge of people's lives right now. So then it was another thing of breaking the people pleasing thing because I was like, they really needed me to work that day and I just couldn't. There was no way about me saying yes to that, and they had to figure it out without me. And then there was conversation with my friend, his name is Brandon. He was talking about like all these guys I had dated, including him. He and I had dated, now we're just friends. But he was like, all these guys that you're trying to talk to are not good enough for you. Like you're next level, Jess. And so the next day I was like, what? What does that mean? Like, who is next level? Like, who do you know? He's like, oh, I don't know anyone who's next level. I was like, no, no, no. Like, who do you watch on YouTube? And he mentioned Preston Smiles, who is my coach and who I ended up doing a program with that changed my fucking life. Like, so this rabbit trail of like my decision to smoke weed opened up this whole place of not being as restrictive and then led me down this beautiful path of what my life is today as a coach.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
But I like
That's really
listened
cool.
to my body saying that like actually it's okay to do this, even though all of my being and training has said otherwise.
Well, and I like I wonder how much is like your physical body and how much is like your soul spirit connected to your body wanting that, right? Like knowing that smoking weed is going to open you up to be able to have different perspectives and experiences, right? That you're um will gift you in the long run, and I think that's where it gets like a little tricky because yes, like my body is responding to a question, but I'm also trusting that it's coming from this connection that my body has um to my spirit man, right? Like to my soul, it that has like my soul has the grand plan, right? Of like what we were supposed to experience and what was supposed to happen and what is ideal and best for us. And so um you know, it might seem silly when we're talking about like a small decision, like do I eat chicken or do I eat beef, right? Um, but I'm aware now that whether I eat chicken or whether I eat beef or whether I eat broccoli is going to determine how I feel and how I respond and what happens to me in that day, and that could completely derail something, really, right? So, um, yeah, it's kind of multi-layered, right? Because some things are really physical and then some things are a little bit more connected to other layers and elements, and there's a whole philosophy around like we have multiple body, we have a mental body, we have emotional body, right? We have our physical body, and there's all these like 10 bodies, right? I forget all the names they go out. But even if we can't prove that, or even if you're not aware of that possibility, you are aware that you have mental faculties that really have their own identity. You have heart and emotional faculties that really have their own identity. You have a physical body, and then you have an energetic being that is all the things you can feel that don't make sense, right? And that really has its own faculties, and they all exist in you overlaid right now in this moment, right? And so they all need to be connected, otherwise they wouldn't be functioning together in order for you to have the experience that you're having, right? So knowing that alone can change the way that you interact and receive messages from your body, because your body is the physical thing that is also connected to those things. So it's the most like palatable and easy to reach in the moment, right? And I think like anything, like your mind, like your emotions, um, like a little kid, they can get on a track and want to keep running, like to your point of, earlier. And so that's where like the practical, you know, observer that you get to be, the witness to your life, gets to step in and be like, oh, no, no, that's not, wait, that's not where we want to go. That's not what we want to do. That's not like what actually needs to happen. Because I mean, if I want to be sad or I want to be angry, like I can get in a place and not want to leave that state.
Mm-hmm.
You can get stuck in a state, right? I can get stuck in a state of sitting, and that's maybe not ideal for my body, but I've been like static sitting working, right? And if I'm not listening, I won't get the like, hey, you need to get up and change your state, right? Like this is not ideal. Not that this is bad, but for too long, this is, not helpful.
Yeah.
So
And we've had conversations too where you were like, because Rena is super connected to her body. She's built this trust up for many years at this point. So it's really fun to witness you asking your body questions and getting responses. And um, but one of the things you had mentioned before is like you don't even understand how people do life without that because there are
totally.
like you were just discussing like the making decisions can be a super mental thing and we can like so many people are mentally burnt out because of the amount of decisions we have to make in a day. But if you take away that equation and just like let your body decide, that's one less thing your brain has to think about. And then you could just trust your body to make the decision for you. And it's really cool.
I never thought about how it alleviates decision fatigue. Like I always knew it was like a benefit, right? Like, oh, this is so much help, so helpful. I don't need to think about things like in circles, but from a literal fatigue perspective, yeah, it does. And here's what's interesting about that. Like I wonder if that reduced decision fatigue then in turn creates more space for you to be more connected, to be able to ask and hear better, right? And then it's just like this,
Amplification.
yes, in the right direction instead of us going in the opposite of not listening and then being more disconnected and then, more fatigue and all of the things. Um, yeah, I mean, gosh, I don't even know how long I've been shake testing now. It's
You want to
God, is
explain
it?
to people what shake testing is?
Yeah, I was going to right now. I'm thinking like maybe is it a decade? I'd have
Wow.
to really go and look. Yeah, I'd have to really go and look. But so obviously Jess talked about the sway test, right? Some people use this like finger pull, they do like with you need to use a weak finger and a strong finger. That's not my gift, but it is feasible to do. I've seen people do it. Some people will do third party, right? So you like hold out your arm or use some kind of like alternate, somebody else presses and asks the question, and based on resistance or faltering, it's a yes or a no. Um, for me, it started as this like soft shake in my whole body. And so it looks like it probably, I mean, I don't see it myself often, but maybe you could speak to this, Jess, but it probably looked like somebody who would get just the shivers in the beginning,
Yes.
right? Like when you're cold and your body shivers like that. In its most dramatic form, it's like my whole head shakes back and forth. It's like a whole thing. But you can see it runs up the body like from the base up or from the top down. And it started organically. I would be praying about things, I'd be meditating, I'd be asking for insight and guidance, and I was looking, I was actually, I think I was getting my degree in religious studies at the time. And so it was very like in seeker mode, constantly looking for like understanding on all these things in front of me. And so I would randomly be in a direction of something and then I would shake. Like I wasn't asking questions. I'd get this little vibration. Maybe somebody would say an author's name to me, or I would pick up a book, or I would flip by, a movie trailer, or, whatever it is, some kind of input. And I would be like, oh, that's different. I wonder what about that created this reaction. And then I would go investigate. And so then it started to build upon itself, this understanding that, like, if I shook, I would figure out why that would be possible. Like, what about that is interesting that in near my being, like, creates this reaction. And then eventually I started to understand it was happening so much that I would take the thing and be like, oh no, there's no reaction to that. Okay, that's not it. Right. And then from that it became a like a yes or a no, right? Like a is this thing, is the um energy there true, basically. Like is there truth there? Yes or no, based on the question. And then it kind of evolved from there. But I would say, it was all very experimental and it wasn't with anything that was critical. But I had a friend at the time who was a medicine woman for a native tribe, and she she would watch me do this, and then she would ask me, "Can I ask you questions?" And then so she would ask me questions, and I would just I'm not thinking. I'm literally just sitting there, right? Like letting my body respond to her. And if we take the philosophy that we're all connected, then everything's connected. And so the information that is true for her is available by connection through all of the things to me, right? And so she'd ask me, and I would shake test, and then she'd go live her life and test it and see what happened. And she'd ask me things that would be based on third party people, organizations, like, you know, a silly example is she had a crush on a boy and she wanted to know if he was going to take the same training class that she was taking. And she asked me, and then I think the next Monday, he wasn't there. She was like, oh, she's like, can I ask again? Maybe I got it wrong. Like maybe I asked wrong. I was like, ask. And it was still yes. And it turned out he had signed up already, but he couldn't make the first class. Right. And so he was they coming. He just wasn't there that day,
Uh-huh.
like so at some point she became such a believer in the ability to feel energetically the truth of something in this way by muscle testing. And in this particular way, by shake testing, which is what I call it, that she actually was able to train her body to have that gift as well. And so eventually, when she would ask me, we both would have the same response. And then at some point, she no longer needed to ask me because she had her own connection she'd established with her body and her soul and her being and
Yeah.
God and all the things. So,
I mean, when you and I are feeling disconnected, we ask each other in our own ways.
mhm.
So I'll be like, Serena, can I ask a question? And then she'll shake or not shake and let me know what the answer is. And then oftentimes she'll just be like, one or two. And then I like check in to see what knowing says. And sometimes it's a one, sometimes it's a two. And she knows what it is. I have no idea what it is. Sometimes we'll talk about it later. Sometimes we don't. But
Sometimes we don't because it's not like crucial,
yeah.
Mhm.
But it's helpful when you're in a space where you're feeling a little disconnected or You're not like fully trusting yourself in the moment, or you're feeling too close to the thing. We do
Too
this for
close.
our
Yeah.
each other's cats all the time. Well, if you're watching this, you saw Zarina's cat, Shiloh. She's
Yeah.
determined to be in this episode. Um, and I have two cats of my own, Eli and Augie, and so we feel really close to our own cats, and so sometimes we have to ask the other person when the cat is lost or something happened, and we're like feeling emotional about it.
Yeah. Or she's crying. She's loud and crying
Oh
in the
yeah.
background.
Is she doing that now?
Oh yeah, I thought you heard her. She was really loud.
No, I didn't hear her at all.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she's meowing really loud. She jumped on the table. But yeah, and I know like for me the disconnection feels the energy feels very sporadic. Like it feels like when I'm too close or I I can tell when I really want the answer to be something specific.
Hmm.
It's like I can feel the energy being pulled in different directions. And so it doesn't come in straight, like it comes sideways right into the body, like it, or it does this jagged thing, or it's really weak. It'll come in like really, like super weak instead of like solid. And so then I go, okay. And often, like when I ask you, and I'm curious if this is true for you, but often when I ask you and you respond, then it helps me identify not just what is true, but whether that's specifically true from my perspective. Like I can feel more clear, like, oh yes, okay, that was right. Or like, oh no, I don't actually know if I agree with that because now you've put it in the field instead of me putting it in the field myself, right?
Hmm.
So whether you like are reading for me perfectly correctly almost doesn't matter because it helps me like learn myself better. So
Yes. Like the recalibration of like, oh, I get to actually really trust myself in this because I
mhm.
disagree with her. Or, oh, okay, great. Same page. That just affirms it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, does the same thing for me too.
So where would you say you are now, like in your relationship with your body from a spiritual perspective and like what you want that to look like?
That's a good question. I there's I think there's an element of me that would argue that I'm not very connected to my body. But then there are so many examples where that like I can't say that anymore. It was true at one point. It is no longer true. But because I would say that I'm in my head a lot, and I can be, that would be my go-to response. But I'm like looking at all of this evidence that's saying otherwise now, and I'm like, oh, I can't say that anymore. So I feel like I have a decent connection to my body. I also feel like there's contention between my body and my mind often, or spirit, or whatever. I mean, this another whole other conversation would be about our spirit teams. There's somebody very loud and very opinionated on my spirit team. So sometimes I'm still figuring out the nuances between who's talking. I think that would be the clearest, most true answer at this moment is like I have developing a better relationship to my body, but I'm not always clear that it's my body talking because I'm still learning all the other voices that are in the mix of my inner world.
Do you ever ask?
Yes, sometimes I do ask. I'm like, who's talking? Or sometimes I'll be like, I could feel the answers going like this, like everyone's answer
Mm,
a different way. I'm like, we have to come up with one answer.
need a spokesperson
I don't,
to
and then it'll
delineate.
get a little clearer. But this is a good reminder that I get to ask more often because I don't remember to ask. It's so funny how we have these gifts and we forget to use them for both you and me. Because
Oh,
I'm
totally.
number of
Yeah.
times I asked Zarina, "Did you ask?" Like, no.
Mhm.
Like you have this gift you've been using for 10 years and you don't even use it for everything. And it surprises me every time because I see you use it so often. But we
Totally.
forget
I
it.
feel like I do, but I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm still in the like remembering to use the gift and practice because the more I use it, the more clear it is that it is my body or whatever.
Well, and here's how I mean, you know the story, how I started asking, but this is another aspect of the whole, body connection thing we could talk about. Um, is that I was working with this woman who was very intuitive, and at one point she had stopped me and told me, like, you have gifts you're not using. And I remember I was talking to my boss in the hallway, and she had walked up and said, "Can I ask a question really quick?" Like she did. And I'm just kind of like leaning against the wall waiting. And all of a sudden, like my stomach started killing me. Like I was like bent over, like in pain. And she asked me what was wrong. And I told her, and she said, "Oh, that doesn't belong to you. That's mine." And I looked at her like, "What? What are you talking about?" And she was like, "Well, I've been in pain all day." And so she told me like what her issue was and what was going on and why she was in, she had a flare up and she was in pain and all of the things. And as soon as she had said, that doesn't belong to you, that's mine, the pain instantly went away.
Yep.
Right. And then she told me, "Look, you pick up things from people, you feel things
Hmm.
so deep, and you don't have a filter, you don't even know you're doing it." She's like, "If you do nothing else, you need to start asking, is this mine?"
Yep.
Because you are probably experiencing a ton of things you don't actually need to, because it's not for you to experience. You're just taking it on behalf of people, so that unconsciously, so that they don't have to experience it. Right. And so often, like, we could be experiencing hunger. You and I have talked about this, nausea, tiredness, like so many things that aren't even ours. And I think now I realize, and I'm realizing too in this moment, that I really value like my own space and being alone because of that. I don't have to constantly be mitigating that thing. Like not going into an office every day and working from home, like cuts down on so much of that filtering and just like constant personal, let's call it energetic hygiene that I need to do, because I've come across so many people. Um and my heart is that I don't want to not feel what is happening in the field. Like I don't want to come across a person and not feel what they're going through. And so I would rather do like the hygiene on myself and be pragmatic, be like have to think about it basically and be on top of it when I'm interacting with people, than to shut off that capability, which some people do, right? They shut off their ability to feel, and they pull in their field so that their magnetic field, so that they don't need to pick up everybody's energy, and they don't need to interpret it, right? And so I've just made the decision for myself that I would rather interpret and be aware of what is happening around me in the world, including with people around me in the world, than not. Um, but would you say that you've had that experience too?
Oh yeah. One of my first experiences like tapping into the spiritual world outside of Christianity was learning about empaths. Um, and that was the concept that I was hearing is like empaths pick up energy from other people. And I'm like, oh. And then I started to ask, like, is this mine? Like, nope, that's your mom's. Nope, that's so and so. Sometimes I knew who it was, sometimes I didn't. But like all of a sudden I was like, oh, all of these emotions I've been feeling my whole life, not all of them belong to me. Interesting. So then I could start filtering out and sorting like, oh, I don't like it became such a relief not to have to feel all the feelings anymore because they weren't mine to feel.
Mhm.
So that was like a huge thing. But as we're talking about it right now, I'm thinking about, oh yeah, I have roommates now. I haven't been asking
Mm.
myself that question. Oh, I can already tell without even fully asking. I can already pick up like, oh, my antenna picked up these emotions from the people I live with that are not mine, and I don't need to feel them.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it, because obviously I don't have roommates, but I've thought about it from a neighborhood perspective, like moving into a new space in a new neighborhood with new people and their fields around me. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling things. Even though like I have the safety of my space and I come into my space and my space is clear, like there's still calibrating, right? That needs to be done. So it is definitely interesting. It's definitely interesting.
Hmm. It's it's very interesting and very wonderful to start having building that connection. And if if you're listening to this and you feel like you don't have a connection to your body or you're just starting this journey, like my the urge to compare ourselves to other people is huge. So my invitation is to not do that because you might not have had 10 years of practice like Zarina has. And so you get to start with where you're at and not make it wrong because it's exactly where you're supposed to be in this moment.
1,000%. And so much of it is intentional. Like so much of it is like, okay, body, I'm going to do my best, like to listen to you and to actually stop and just start asking the questions, just start having the communication. Like it's so, I mean, it sounds silly when I say it out loud, but like sometimes I get up and I'm like, so tired today. And I'm like, okay, we can do this, right? Like, I know you're always working to take care of me. Like that's the thing I say to my body. Like, whatever happens, whatever's going on inside my being, like my physical being, I know you're always working to take care of me and to keep me alive. That is literally your whole job is to try and keep me alive, right? And so, thank you for that, right? Thank you for keeping me alive every day. That is super small thing, very, very real, totally honest, and will start to create a connection, you know? And so if I was on a team and my body was my teammate, like what does that look like? Like, oh, okay. All right, we don't want to do this, but we're going to do this. Are you ready? Okay, let's go. I'm going to start the day, right? Like, like literally.
Hmm.
And for whatever reason, truth, psychosomatic, whatever you want to call it, it works. And the ball starts rolling, and then before I know it, like I'm not tired, I'm not exhausted. So I think there's that too. There's opportunities if you're curious to try in a lot of different ways, right? And maybe it's not words, maybe it's like you pick up the cup of coffee and you look at your hand touching the cup of coffee and you think, do I want that today? You know? Super simple, super small,
And
right?
you've mentioned to me too that like you can um ask for a specific thing. So like if you're more drawn to colors and maybe you pick up your coffee and when it if it looks purple, like the aura of it is purple, that means yes, and if it's green it means no, or like whatever thing that you resonate with. There's no right or wrong way to get to connect to your body and your higher self and your being. It's you get to figure out what works best for you.
Completely. And I think a lot of that goes to how somebody already operates, right?
Yes.
Are you a visual person? Are you an audible person? Are you a sensory person? Like, are you already very good at like delineating your internal thoughts, those kind of things. And so often I will see people have responses that match, that mirror what they're already doing in their normal life, right? we haven't talked about this, but like I would hear spirits, would hear ghosts, would hear voices as a little kid. And so for me, like hearing a yes or hearing a no as an internal voice is not hard for me, right? A lot of people I know, like they do it based on the way their heart feels. And so, like, they pick up their cup of coffee, and does their heart feel expanded? Like when they see somebody they love, it's a very similar feeling. It's one that we can all pay attention to. Or when they see something that scares them or that they don't like, and then they contract. And they can monitor the level of reaction both ways to the thing that, they're asking about, right? And that's their body connection.
Mm.
So it can look a lot of different ways. I think just going back, the idea is to start with an intention to want to know and to want to build that connection
Yeah.
and to stay open to what it might look like.
Yeah. Because I think that, like, whether or not it's from a religious background or their cultural context, like, we're taught to be very disconnected from our bodies and to shame us for basic needs. Like, oh, I shouldn't need that much rest. Oh, I shouldn't need to eat that much food. Oh, I shouldn't be aroused by that, or whatever the thing is. And so we shut down our body's nudges toward us because we're taught to be disconnected from that. And so by re-engaging that and being like, okay, body, I want to build a relationship with you and I want to learn how to love you. Like, how do I do that? We're going to start with some gratitude, or we're going to start with asking small questions that I can feel into the answers to, or whatever. Um, man, I'm feeling really grateful for my body right now too. Um, like even I said this recently to somebody, like our tiredness is a sign of our aliveness. Like, like being tired, being drained, being frustrated, feeling shitty, like that's still an indication that we're alive and our body's doing its job, which is so
Totally.
cool.
Totally. And an indication that there's been some kind of output or there's been some kind of experience. Like you were alive enough to have an experience that made you tired, right? And I also think sometimes the tiredness can be, like we said, where you're on the track and the body's just used to, like I'm really getting the message that, like, for myself right now, that I need to start doing some cardio. Like I need to start working on my stamina because my body is capable and wants to move, but I often will get like the moving locations, moving my house taught me that I have to do things in spurts. And that wasn't always the case. And I know that that's because I've lost the stamina, even if I haven't lost all of the strength, right? And
Mm.
so it's like, oh, okay, my body is not used to moving consistently for long periods of time because what I do for a living, I sit down so much. And I haven't been as active about making sure that I'm moving in between, right? So how do I train it and supplement it in an environment where I can't actually move all of the time? And I think our body will adapt for a really long time, but at some point it's like, hey, and so I keep getting that like little message, right? So that's my thing. Like right now, I keep thinking about how do I work on. And I think part of, the kitty herself, like being loud and moving around and jumping in the video, is that she also wants to move. She's like, I've been laying down all day. Like, I want to go outside, you know? And and so it's a good, I have an internal and an external clock telling me, like, hey, we need to move.
Yes. I recently my legs have felt so restless. Like I'm like, oh, my body is itching to move a lot more than I'm allowing it to. And I'm still in that like resistance stage because I feel like, I mean, that's part of what I do. Like my process is I resist things before I do them because for me, like when I commit to a thing, I actually commit to a thing and I don't want to like half-ass it. That's some of it. Some of it is like the I'm making it a bigger deal than it needs to be. Um, so I'm like in this weird in-between space of getting to that, like, okay, at least now it's nice outside. I can just go for a walk. It doesn't really need to be that big of a deal. So I've been trying to listen to that a bit more. I got to do a walk yesterday and it was lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, I also think the resistance for me, I don't call it that. It's always felt like I need to marinate, you
Mm,
know? And
that's a way
so,
better reframe.
yeah, so the thing gets put in my field, like I'm getting the reminders like stamina, cardio. It starts to become more top of mind. And then at some point it's so top of mind that it becomes action. But it has like this, everything has this buildup. And I know if I want to make myself, if I want to shorten that gap and I want to get myself to what I want to do faster, then I can force the marination.
Yeah.
So, like, I've done it several times. Like, when I want to be more active or want to be more consistent at the gym, I'll start feeding myself with that information. I'll start listening to people who are really focused on optimizing their day, about physical fitness, who are really dedicated to moving their body and all the reasons why. And it will put all that information in my field. And I'm doing it very consciously, right? And then like the energy and the momentum builds up faster. And then I'm like, okay, I want to go right now. You know? And then it's not a making myself do it, it's an excited to do it thing. And I've done that with learning about marketing. I've done that when I took on a PR job I was scared about and I didn't really want to do. I forced myself to like immerse, you know. I've done it Gosh, I've done it with music. People do it with music a lot and don't think about it. They want to feel a different emotion. And so they just pick that genre, those styles, and they sit in it. They do it at the gym. Lots of people do it when they want to feel happy. I know people who do it when they want their heart to open. Like I have a friend who keeps a playlist of tracks or performances that literally burst her heart open because they're so beautiful. And so when she's feeling closed down, she will go and listen to them and watch them so that she can get back in that space, right? But it's like a beautiful way to like consciously choose to use energy to change your experience and help you be in a different place in a different state. I know. I'm just a catapult. That's all I am.
If you're just listening, the cat is running around and jumping off of Zarina's shoulder. It's very funny.
She's literally circling the kitchen, jumping on the kitchen table to jump on my shoulder, to jump on the kitchen counter behind me, to jump off and run around the table again and do it again.
It's a playground.
Yes. It's also because I'm not listening and going outside. And so she's like, well, I'm gonna make you notice me.
Yes. Um, so I'm listening you share the like immersing yourself. And in some ways, that would have the exact opposite effect on me. It would make me dig my heels more in and say, fuck no.
Even though you've chosen it for yourself, even though you're like picking the thing and it's something that you enjoy, like I don't pick just anybody. I pick people I like and I want to hear. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Uh, it's nuanced, but yes, even if it's something that I am seemingly excited about or want to listen to or want to, if I'm not ready, like there's nothing that could convince me to do it now. And I think part of that, if we talk about human design again, as a manifester, I have a blocked off aura.
Mm.
So things are not supposed to come in until I let them. I think. I'm still learning how that works.
I don't know. It would be interesting to test because by choosing, I feel like you're letting.
Yeah,
Like it's not like somebody's forcing it on you, right? And it's not like the minute you do it, all of a sudden you have to go do it. Like, oh, I'm immersing myself in this thing and I expect in like 2 weeks or a week I'm gonna want to go do it and I have to. There's no like, oh, now I have to.
Yeah.
It's more like I guess like prep. But what I've noticed is that the prep gets me excited,
Yeah.
right? The having it in my mind, thinking about all the reasons why it's beneficial, like gets me excited. But you're right, like I run on energy. And so like that energy being in my field, I'm like, yeah, like give me more to run on, you know? Like you and I talked about this the other day because I had to I mean, I still have to unpack, but I was unpacking in chaos and I really didn't want to do it because I had been moving for 2 days and I was exhausted. And you called me and we talked for 2 hours and we had a fun conversation. And because I was with you and you had energy and you hadn't been packing for 2 days, right? Like, and you gave me a distraction that was light and bright. Now all of a sudden I'm in an energy that's light and bright and I'm excited to pack. Like I'm just like moving without thinking about it. I'm just like doing things because all of the like awareness of the reasons why I don't want to just got to be put aside and I got to just do the thing. And then it made it easier to do the thing again, even when you weren't there.
Yeah.
Right. And I think something very similar, at least for me, is happening. I do that. But it
Mm.
would be interesting to see like how that works for other people and why and why not, you know?
Yeah.
Like maybe test a positive one, like one that is like an experience you want to have, like
Mhm.
not that you're already in resistance to, and see how that works.
Yeah. I have to figure out what that is. But
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
that would be definitely an interesting experiment.
I'd be curious to see what happens.
Me too.
Also, because like to me, you're so musical and music has such an enveloping, setting the tone of the energy quality about it. Just like so, I think so powerful because you are basically choosing to immerse yourself in this thing that is created like
Mm.
fully, especially when it's a live piece, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say you're saying I'm so musical, but I listen to music less than you do.
I don't think that's true.
I don't put music on like ever.
Well, I put podcasts on more than I put music on. That's the
That's
only
true.
reason why I said that's not true. But I don't mean musical like you listen to music. I mean musical like your being
Oh, got it.
responds to music and
Mm.
so that idea like of immersion and vibrational, attunement, like a line is like kind of pre-built in you, at least from my perspective. Like I don't know, I could be totally
Sure,
making it up,
sure.
but
And it's one of those things though that like I prefer to be creating or being part of the music than just listening. So like if I'm gonna put music on, I want to sing with it or I want to go play, sit at the piano and play. And I'm wondering if that's part of the like the same energy that we're talking about. It's because like me just listening to a bunch of people who I think are amazing work out when I'm trying to do that workout thing. We're just gonna use that example of if that it would have the opposite effect because I would rather just be doing it myself than listening to other people do it. I don't know. There's something there that I don't fully have all the puzzle pieces for.
yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be nuanced, right? Because I definitely don't watch people do it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not wanting to run watching people run,
Right.
right? I'm wanting to be more disciplined, listening to somebody who's so disciplined, it's almost like stupid, like or somebody who's so well, okay, and maybe this is why, right? I really love passionate people.
Hmm.
I'm inspired by passionate people. And
Hmm.
if people can be passionate for me about something, like I will ride off that energy, whether it's something I want to do or not. Like you and I have talked about this. Like they can be passionate about, you know, widgets or hammers. But tell me why I should be in love with hammers the way you are. Like, share that with me,
Yeah.
right? I want to be excited, you know? And I think that's that's why maybe why it's working for me because I'm picking people who are passionate about the thing I'm trying to lean into.
Right.
I want to start fasting again. I'm listening to people, doctors, people who've tested fasting, people who do it religiously, people who do it for health. I'm listening to all these things, but people are passionate about fasting, and it makes me feel it from all these different perspectives, and I get excited about it because they're excited about it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like biohacking my brain some some way, energy hacking my brain, I guess. To want to do it. So I don't know.
Interesting.
Because what creates harmony for you with something? Like, what does that look like?
What creates harmony for me?
Or is it literally just time? Like maybe it is just time.
Yeah, I think so. Because, like, yeah, I do things in spurts. Like, I don't have this, like, continual go energy. I just have, like, oop, all of a sudden I'm going to work for 24 hours on this thing and then it's going to be done. And then I'll rest for days and then I'm going to have all this energy to do this one thing. And then I'm the one that's passionate about it. If I'm not passionate about it, fuck it. It's not happening. And
Totally.
there's no amount of other people's passion that's gonna make me want to do that thing. Even though I love witnessing other people's passion and hearing about it and getting curious about it, it doesn't fuel me the same way it fuels you. But I don't know what does then. Like, what does?
Well, and I'm doubling down, right? Because the
Yeah,
guy who I'm excited about to learn about his hammers or his widgets, I'm never going to be excited. I'm never going to want to collect hammers and widgets,
sure,
but I'm really excited to learn.
sure.
And so when I'm talking about like advancing some kind of perspective for myself, the interest is already there. I'm already aware that it's something I want,
Hmm.
right? So I'm not talking myself into wanting something I don't want.
Yeah,
Like the want's already there. It's just helping me get prepped
sure.
because it's like I mean, even when even like in work, you know, you add like something new that's consistent. And now we have a Thursday meeting at 2 o'clock every week in perpetuity. It's going to take me like 3 weeks to remember, like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm ready for the 2 o'clock meeting. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, it has to sit in the field and I have to be aware of it. And before it starts to become like the natural part and we're just doing it,
Right.
you know? And so, um, I mean, there's plenty of people who just do the thing who aren't like us. They just do the thing, right? They're just like, oh, I feel like I need to stretch. So I'm just going to stop right now and stretch. And meanwhile, I have to think about stretching for like 7 days. And then, and then I'll actually stretch, right? Like, and I've just learned that about myself, you know? And so, and instead, I try and take care of my body in the in between, right? And so, like right now in my stretching dream, instead, I'm like doing little stretches in bed before I get up. Not a lot, like two, you know? Or I'm standing in the kitchen, stretching at the counter while I'm waiting for the coffee or something, right? Because it's on my mind, but I'm not like ready to stop and do the 30-minute video, but I want to kind of like getting in gear,
Yeah.
right? Getting in gear. Um, and I guess that's really like what I would say to somebody who wants to start building that connection with their body is how can you like get in that prep phase? Like how can you start to like lean in, right? And um start to have it be like these small little parts of like your existence if that's something that you want. Okay?
Yeah. This has been a great conversation.
Go team. I feel like we went a lot of directions, but I mean they're all definitely things you and I think about a lot. So
Yes.
it's good.
It's a really clear, it's a very good indication of how we have any conversation.
Yeah, I mean this is really it, guys. Like this is the way life and thus the way the podcast is gonna go. We're
Yes.
gonna talk about a thing and there won't be like a roadmap of like, oh, we need to make sure we talk about this and we need to make sure to talk about this. We need to make sure we talk about this. Like you need to get the three pillars of what it is to listen to your body. No, you're not, this is not like formal training. This is you're part of our everyday conversations. Like
Yeah.
you're on the road with us. And so wherever you want to participate in that conversation, please do, because we like dialogue and we like ideas and we like, the challenge of perspectives. Like this is why we have these conversations, her and I. It's because we want to see all the sides. And neither one of us thinks we have the perfect answer. I'm not even sure if there are like absolute perfect answers to be found, right? We're all just experimenting and doing our best. And so building intuition, building connection, building a relationship with your body and with spirit or God or whatever you call God is its own ebb and flow and flux. And then you add real life in there, and then there's lots of ebb and flow and flux. And so um I'm grateful to have an anchor point when I feel disconnected in my friend and now in this podcast. So go team.
Go team. Well, thank you for listening to this episode of Sacred Reveries.
And we'll see you next time.
Yay.